Good afternoon, this is Dan Howe, PTI Securities and Futures, coming to you for the daily afternoon wrap-up of Thursday, October 27th. Well, the big news of the day was overnight, late in the night in Europe, they actually came up with a coordinated plan. There was no surprises. They did the three things that they've been talking about doing the whole time. However, it seemed to be enough. And overnight, the S&Ps rallied. They rallied big. They were up about 25 to 30 pretty much the whole night, and they pretty much closed there in the overnight session. But Europe did the three things that people were expecting them to do. They basically came out and said that the Greek haircut was going to be 50%. The rumor was between 40 and 60. They leveraged the EFSF short-term facility 4-to-1, and that is something that also people thought would be enough to potentially get enough money on the table to basically scare people into no longer running on the bonds. And then they came out and said that obviously the Greek haircut is going to be a problem for the banks, but they're requiring banks to pony up some more capital to be at a 9% risk capital ratio. So those were the three things that needed to happen, and they said them all, so there was understandably some good things coming out of Europe. However, that was very, very short on details. Like, for instance, who's going to actually loan them the money? Because the ECB said no to allowing, because if the ESFS actually is levered 4-to-1, they're going to have to borrow the money. Germany said no, France said no, the ECB said no. So now they're assuming that foreign sovereign wealth funds and private investors are going to pony up, hence the call to China in the next couple of days. We'll see how well that works. Same thing with the banks. It's kind of cool to say they need 9% risk capital, but who's going to give it to them, especially if they're having trouble financing the EFSF. So in any event, the details meant nothing today. We were almost on our, up almost 50 points in the S&P. At one point, we had to sell off almost 10 points to be up only 42 on the day. Earnings were mixed today, so basically P&G was a little bit worse, Dow was a little bit worse, didn't matter, they were both up a little over $2. There was some good news from Starwood Hotels and a couple other firms, but basically Bungie, it was kind of indicated that, you know, that's a company that deals a lot in the food stuff, so the food inflation is obviously skimping on their profits. But basically a very, very good day. The S&P up 42, closed at 1284. The Dow up 340 at 12209. NASDAQ up 87 at 2738. The 10-year note up 19 basis points. The bonds just were trashed today. The 30-year bond down 3.5 handles. Unbelievable day. The dollar very, very weak. Closed at 75.01, down 1.58. You know, the euro rallied big. So realistically, how bad must the U.S. dollar be that in all this going on with the euro, that now it's trading at 142 to the dollar? It's kind of hard to believe. Gold started out a little rough today, basically unchanged, but closed up $20. Another big story today, the VIX closed down 25.8, down 4.2, so realistically, it took it on the chin today. Realistically, going forward, it appears that there is no fear. Looking forward, I think the details of the Europe is going to come out, but they're going to come out slow, so we're probably not going to concentrate that for a while. The personal income, personal spending is tomorrow. We also have Michigan sentiment tomorrow. All of those will probably take a back seat to the current euphoria. So realistically, if they think this is over, we have a lot to way to run, but realistically, there's a lot of things that, in my mind, are not details, but yet are still not forthcoming. So this has been Dan Howe, PTI Securities and Futures.